Common Room Radio. I'm Sarah Kate Bazan, and it turns out you don't need a Y chromosome to be a superhero. You just need balls.
I'm Alistair Stevens, and sometimes I feel like she's studying me, like I'm some kind of research subject instead of her husband. My tongue feels funny.
And I'm Vinton Bain, and do I get a safe word? There's no safe word, is there?
There's no safe word in podcasting.
And this week on Excelsior, we are talking about Mockingbird, the Bobby Morse comic done by Chelsea Cain that came in 2 issues and was sadly cut short before its time, in my personal opinion. I love this comic. This is one of my favorite comics in the history of ever.
This is one of the most absurdly good, intertextual, crazy, layered thing that I have ever read. It is one of those things that you read and you think, this doesn't need to be this good, but I'm glad that it is.
Yeah, this comic has so many layers to it, so many things that you can go back and rediscover. I had read it before, but going back and looking back over, I was just finding new things every second, especially taking the time to slow down and study each panel.
Yeah.
There's so much to be found in this comic. It's brilliant.
The first time I read it, I went through both volumes and then stopped, went back to the beginning and read the whole thing again. And I would have read it a third time back to back if I hadn't had to, work and do a podcast.
I also really like and appreciate this comic because I feel like it basically, makes true canon, my head canon of the Natasha and Bobby Morse relationship.
Yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it?
It kind of does.
I mean, not explicitly.
But there's no, why does Bobby have a Black Widow mug? I mean, other than Black Widow just being amazing and super cool,
I
but
think everyone should have a Black Widow
they
mug.
should, yeah. But no, Bobby and Nat are totally banging. And I don't just mean that they're hot, I mean they're doing it together to each other.
But they are hot as well.
They're also hot as well, yes.
To and with each other.
To and with each other.
Yes. So this comic focuses on Barbara Bobby Morse, also known as Mockingbird. She is, of course, a Marvel Comics character. She was created by Len Wein and Neil Adams for Savage Tales #2. However, their story, featuring Bobby Morse and Man-Thing, was
now
delayed.
Man-Thing, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Man-Thing is Marvel's version of Swamp Thing?
Right, which is another version of an older character in older comics and other media known as the Swamp Monster, which is just something that got made over and over again back in those days as a horror trope almost.
People just really hated
absolutely.
Louisiana.
Yeah.
Sure, there are a lot of monsters there.
Afraid of the swamp man. We still are. Have you watched Swamp People?
Issue 2 of Savage Tales was delayed due to the cancellation of the series. So Bobby's first appearance was actually in Astonishing Tales #6 in June 1971 in a story written by Jerry Conway, illustrated by Barry Smith and Bill Everett. She was presented as a supporting character and an eventual love interest of Khazar from the Savage Land. There really isn't time to get into Khazar.
But I have so many questions.
Tarzan.
Okay.
Basically Tarzan.
Like Tarzan,
Marvel Tarzan.
In modern time,
Yes, in Marvel, there's
I'd say modern times, but
yeah.
So it's still dinosaurs because the Savage Land.
Yeah,
Is it at the center of the earth?
On the earth that's hidden away.
Oh,
that
I
has
see.
dinosaurs and stuff. Yep. That's
okay, cool.
No time.
Well,
It turns out, though, that shortly after her first appearance, Bobby is revealed to be a highly trained agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., as well as possessing a PhD in biology. She first uses the moniker Mockingbird in Marvel Team-Up number 95 in July 1980, and then goes on to basically be a part of the Avengers roster, the extended Avengers roster. She bounces around from Avengers team to Avengers team. In 2012, Mockingbird was listed at number 48 on IGN's Top 50 Avengers list. I don't know how she ends up at 48. I mean, there are a lot of Avengers.
there are a lot of Avengers.
Like thousands of Avengers.
Where does Wanda end up on that list? I guess is my personal question.
Maybe we could do a special episode where we just run down the top 50 Avengers.
That would actually be really fun. That's a good
We should do
idea.
that.
Of course, most people now know Bobby Morse from her appearance on the TV show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where she is portrayed by Adrienne Palicki, who is, I mean, she's fine. She's average looking.
It's a shame about her face.
I'm not sure that the microphones can pick up that level of sarcasm, Sarah.
Well, it's just, I'm sorry. That's my favorite thing to say about a beautiful woman, because that is what Nathan Fillion said about Marina Baccarin on one of the commentary tracks of Firefly. And so that's my favorite, deep cut pull there. The first time that I ever encountered Mockingbird or Bobby Morse was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I mean, I remember the moment she shows up in that red jacket with her brunette hair and all of this, and she just comes storming down the hallway, that I was just like, who is this Resident Evil Mila Jovovich mother effer storming in here? And And then she busts out her batons, and I was like, I love her. I don't care who she is. I'm in, I'm here, I'm there. It's done. So it turns out that my niche, which is generally, chicks kicking ass, can be very specified to brunette women who beat up people.
I like it.
Yeah.
Beat up generally a lot of people.
A lot of people
Yes,
at once.
overwhelming odds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is definitely your thing.
Yeah.
And Mockingbird
Hot
fits that
brunettes
to a
kicking
T.
ass. Yeah.
So I wrote up a quick in-fiction biography of Mockingbird because she's been through a lot in the comics.
She's been through a lot.
And a lot of it gets referenced here, and I think you could probably read it without having any of this, but just so you have the flavor and get that little bit extra that I think Chelsea Cain wanted to deliver to those people who have followed Mockingbird throughout her career.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to quickly read a very, very abridged version of her history that I wrote up.
Do this thing.
In her first appearance, she was a brunette, which was quickly fixed in the issues that went on. As we know now, she is blonde. And there was a suggestion that she had a psychic ability of some sort to feel, quote unquote, people in her mind. This suggestion was dropped and never brought back up until Chelsea Cain, which we'll be covering.
Mm-hmm.
The original story, which was delayed, showed her as a scientist whose work on the super soldier serum brings her into contact with Man-Thing. This early story arc introduced her connection to S.H.I.E.L.D. During the next few years, Bobby was featured as a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent and sidekick/romantic interest to Kazar. But the introduction of a new, more Kazar-like love interest, Shauna the She-Devil, eventually pushed her out.
I know that you are trying to rush through this abridged version, but I have so many questions.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
no
there's just no
time.
time.
Okay, we're just moving on. All right.
Toward the end of the 70s and into the 80s, Bobby became a solo character, getting her first proper hero costume and finally using the name Mockingbird. She was almost called Huntress, but the creation of a DC character with that same name in 1977 forced Mark Gruenwald and Steve Grant to go with the new name Mockingbird. Mockingbird would team up with Hawkeye during this period, bringing her into the world of the Avengers, and eventually it would be revealed that she was Hawkeye's wife.
Yes. An interesting canonical detail, which is very, very relevant to
Very.
enjoying this volume.
Yes, very.
Yes.
In 1984, Mockingbird gained prominence as a member of the West Coast Avengers. Her relationship with Hawkeye ended in divorce during this time. In Avengers West Coast number 100, apparently she dies. And despite multiple appearances after this that had her acting from the afterlife, her death was retconned by 2008's Secret Invasion storyline, which showed that she had been abducted and replaced by a Skrull posing as her, and it was the Skrull who had died in her place, which might imply that when a Skrull dies posing as someone, they continue thinking that person into the afterlife? No time.
What? I have more questions, though.
Let's add Secret Invasion to the list of things that we definitely
Yes.
have to talk about. Secret Invasion is a storyline from 2008 where it is revealed that a number of characters in the MCU have in fact been Skrull imposters for years and
A
years
long
and
time.
years.
Did they know? Did the Skrulls forget?
The Skrulls didn't know that they were imposters.
Oh, so it was like Battlestar Galactica.
It was exactly like Battlestar Galactica.
Wow.
Yes.
The real Bobby returned as a member of the New Avengers and had a team-up title with Hawkeye. During the Fear Itself story, she was mortally injured in a fight. To save her life, Hawkeye had Nick Fury inject her with a formula that was a functional combination of what's known as the Infinity Formula and the Captain America Super Serum, giving her enhanced physical strength, healing, and agility. Though Fury admitted that he had uncertainty about the formula's long-term consequences on her biology, which we'll be covering again in this current Chelsea Cain story. In Secret Avengers, she joined S.H.I.E.L.D.'s own Avengers team, fighting along with Black Widow, Daisy Johnson, Melinda May, and Bucky Barnes.
Oh my God, yes, please, God, yes, that sounds amazing.
That's a heck of a team. That's a team
Yeah.
created just for you, Sarah.
It
Plus,
really
Bucky is there.
Oh, and Bucky's there. It's okay.
Bucky.
We'll replace Bucky with Wanda. It'll be fine.
And Peggy.
And Peggy.
And so-
Actually, if Peggy was there,
So desperately want that now. Just Bucky. And Bucky.
and Bucky. No, I'm making that GIF as soon as we're done with the show.
Please and thank you. In
Yes.
September 2015, Mockingbird starred in the one-shot Mockingbird S.H.I.E.L.D. 50th Anniversary #1, written by Chelsea Cain, where she is romantically involved with the British spy Lance Hunter, who she keeps calling Clint, on accident and possibly on purpose later to tease him.
No, I think it's always on purpose.
Should always be on purpose.
It's all
Yeah.
definitely always on purpose.
It also brings her possible psychic abilities back up, having Bobby question whether she might actually have them. That November, Marvel announced the launch of their first ongoing series by Cain and artist Kate Nimchek?
Nimchek?
Nimchek? Is it
I think
Nimchek? I don't know how to
Nimchek,
pronounce it.
maybe?
I'm going to assume Nimchek.
In March 2016, and that brings us to the series which we are covering today.
This ongoing series. This ongoing series that is going to last for a long, long time.
I'm so sad.
For those who perhaps aren't aware, we got 8 issues of Mockingbird.
Yeah.
That was it. That's all we got. That's nothing. Ugh.
Nope.
No.
Anyway, it's actually pretty great, though.
First 5 issues are put together in what's known as a puzzle box format.
Yes.
Which I will be screaming throughout the podcast at different points when things connect.
Yes. So this puzzle box concept is actually really super interesting. So you can take the first, it's a lot harder whenever you've got like the first trade, because obviously they're all there together in a book and they go in order. But you could take the first 5 issues of Mockingbird and read them in literally, you've got to read 1 and then 5 at the very end, but you can do 2, 3, and 4 in any order you want. And it's all still going to tell a coherent story, and you'll be able to follow along and like pick up I mean, there are like clues about each, part of the story that are dropped throughout each issue. And it's really, really interesting and super cool that she was able to do this, that Chelsea Cain was able to like put that together and then working with like her creative team to make that happen. It's really neat. It's a super cool concept. And I do wish that I have the last 4 issues in singles, but I got the first 5 issues, unfortunately, like in trade paperback format. So I'm not able to, I would have to like actually do some work to be able to read them out of order.
This is going to be one of those series that is going to be very, very popular at cons for collectors.
Yes.
Because tracking down those single issues is going to be, it's going to be a priority for a lot of people.
And it should be.
Yeah.
This series was geared toward more of an adult audience, whereas most Marvel titles that had a female center lead were geared toward younger audiences. So it was kind of refreshing in this new thing to see. It didn't hit me at first that that's what was new about it when I was reading through it. But then after coming back to study it more, I was like, yeah, that's why this feels different. Because every female-led Marvel title I've ever read was like for kids around 12 to 14. And so it was really interesting to see it from an adult perspective.
Before girls get into like makeup and boys and out of comics.
There are a couple of series that Marvel has run through the years that have targeted that same demographic, but they're very, very unusual and usually don't last that long either. But this is a triumph in that regard. The way that it speaks to, I guess, both girls and women primarily, it's so strong. The voice is so clear. God, I just wish that Marvel was doing more of this stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we'll get to this, I guess. But for people who are looking for more of this type of thing, I definitely recommend Kate Thompson's run on Hawkeye currently.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's really carrying a lot of that spirit of adult-led woman book in the superhero world. So check that out for sure. But we've mentioned a couple times that this series didn't run very far, and we're talking about the femininity. I think this ties in because there was this feminist controversy. Chelsea Cain was basically chased off Twitter by men's rights activists and people just being really mean to her for the fact that she put a woman being real in her comics as the lead, and that she wasn't what men wanted to read in their comics. But she is
back on Twitter now, which is nice. Which is great because I can't wait to like just bombard her with tweets telling her how much I appreciated this story and what it meant to me. But yeah, I got to I sort of like witnessed kind of the periphery of all of that happening whenever I realized that like, Mockingbird was going to be coming to an end, and I was super bummed about that. And so then I was trying to like find Chelsea Cain on Twitter, and there was all this stuff, and people were just fucking vicious for no good reason. Horrible. Just screaming about how like she had ruined this character and how dare she and all this stuff. And it was just complete bullshit. Yeah, it really was just a bunch of men's rights activists, which is nothing. It's not a thing. Men's rights is not a thing. It's nothing. Just screaming about how like she had ruined this. I mean, I don't know, like Bobby is amazing. Bobby Morse is one of my favorite Marvel characters in the entire cast.
And even given the truth of that, and I've always loved Mockingbird too, and love her in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think she's terrific. This is the best version of this character. Yeah. By a mile. This version of Bobby is going to completely redefine this character going forward for the next decade, the next 15 years. Yeah. I can't wait to see what happens to her in the context of the broader 616.
And I don't think that it was because of these controversies that this series was canceled. The reason why this series was canceled comes down to the fact that, as I think we've mentioned before on this podcast, the way that they track sales in comics is horrible. Awful. And it doesn't make any sense at all. Mockingbird Volume 1, at the time of cancellation, sat atop online booksellers list of Marvel graphic novels, number 1 on Amazon for the Marvel comics specifically. And then when you expand that to overall list of graphic novels bestsellers from all publishers, Mockingbird was in the top 50. The physical version of I Can Explain came in at number 8, while the Kindle version comes in at number 25, and My Feminist Agenda sat at number 36. So this comic was all over the top list of best-selling comics online.
But that doesn't matter because those aren't the numbers that
That's
Marvel
not
is
what's
watching.
counted.
Yeah.
Do they really not look at digital copy or digital sales at all?
The way that the comic publication industry works, the lead time is so great that by the time these books are selling on Amazon, the decisions about the future of the book have already been made.
Oh my God.
Even Diamond, I mean, which the comic industry distribution platform, even then there's a certain softness, a certain permeability to the numbers in terms of defining a book's success. So it is a broken system, particularly when you're talking about books like this that reach outside of normal comic reading demographics.
Yeah.
A lot of people who don't read comics read Mockingbird. That's evidenced by those numbers on Amazon.
Yeah.
But there's no way for the comics industry to report those accurately, to respond to those accurately. But you're absolutely right, Vinton. The idea that it was the cover of issue 8, the Ask Me About My Feminist Agenda controversial cover, the idea that killed the book is absurd.
Yeah.
There's no way that happened. The book had already been.
I know that this comic sold well because I could not get the last 3 issues for months. Every week I would go to my bookstore and my guy would be like, we don't have them yet. I got to order them for it. I got to back order. And I'm just like, all I want is that last issue. It's framed in my office now. The Ask Me About My I finally own 2. And so it is beautifully framed, hanging in my office. This comic is amazing.
Yeah. At the time of cancellation, the pre-orders for Volume 2, which featured that cover of the last issue, Ask Me About My Feminist Agenda, was number 5 on Marvel graphic novels being sold. And it was just for pre-order.
Yeah.
It was number 5 because of how
as soon as it was available, I pre-ordered it.
And that was
immediately.
6 months before you were actually going to get it.
Yep.
And it was refreshing that during this controversy, Chelsea Cain being pushed off of Twitter, that Marvel editor-in-chief Axel Alonso actually expressed solidarity with her, tweeting out, "I stand with Chelsea Cain and then condemn online harassment and think that the MU, the Marvel Universe, and the industry benefits and grows from diverse creators and characters." Not that he always expresses that in his actions, but here on Twitter, to see this was nice, and I think proved that that's not why this series got canceled.
Yeah, public statements need to be backed up by action, but the public statements themselves are not worthless. And to have Axel Alonso in particular making this kind of unequivocal statement of support of Chelsea Cain was important.
And it was really refreshing to see a bunch of people I knew and a bunch of people in the industry using this hashtag. I think it was Stand With Chelsea Cain.
Yeah.
That became really big in that aftermath, which is great to see a community like that come together. And Chelsea Cain herself had a statement about what happened, saying that comic readers are 99% the best people you'd ever want to meet. The other 1% can be really mean. Perhaps that statistic holds up across humans in general, but in my experience, this is a different kind of mean. It's misogynistic and dismissive and obsessive, and it thrives off taking down other people.
And by other people, we're really talking about women and people who speak to the representation of minority groups in comic books and so on and so on and so on.
Yep.
And she clarified the reason why she left, saying, "I did not leave Twitter because of rape threats or because someone had posted my address or any of the truly vile tactics you hear about. I left Twitter because of the ordinary daily abuse that I decided I didn't want to live with anymore. The base level of casual crassness and sexism."
Not a great moment for the internet.
No.
Not a great moment for, our shared culture. I guess I would encourage anyone who is listening to this podcast, even if you haven't yet read Mockingbird, I'm sure you will because we're about to spoil it completely.
Oh,
Definitely
entirely,
go out
yes.
and read both
Yep.
volumes. You will not regret it. I encourage everyone to reach out to Chelsea Cain and offer a word of support, offer a word of enthusiasm and of appreciation for her work. Because believe you me, even if we all do that, we will be drowned out still by the voices of criticism and negativity. And that's not something that we can allow to stand. We can together, all of us, reclaim these public spaces. We can together, all of us, reclaim this discourse and make it something more positive and more inclusive. You just have to do it. You just have to reach out to creators you admire and express that.
Yeah.
Yes.
That'll do it.
Absolutely. Internet trolls have a lot of time because they're not doing anything good with their lives.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
no, they're the worst
on
kinds of people.
Twitter
I saw
harassing.
somebody on Twitter the other day. I don't remember if it was like a direct Kate Leth quote or if she was quoting somebody else, but talking about how, if you have a chance to interact with like someone who has created something that you really enjoy, don't feel weird about, expressing your enthusiasm and your love and your support to them, because the people who hate them and the internet trolls will not hesitate. They absolutely will waste zero time and in like just taking that person down. And like, that's just like a shitty way to like go through life, is like hearing nothing but, condemnation and anger and vitriol and pointlessness. So yeah, like support the people that, create things that you love and just, God, be excellent to one another. There's no reason to be an internet troll. Just stop it. If you're one of those, quit listening to this podcast. I have no time for you.
So I think we can all say we stand with Chelsea Cain against
Hell yes.
internet douchebaggery.
That's
Absolutely.
right.
Proudly.
And now let's jump into the story at hand. Starting at issue 1, we start off near the end of the story because Puzzle Box! Bobby is wearing a scuba suit and enters her parapsychologist's office and smashes the window behind him, then jumping back in time to the beginning of our story.
Yes.
This is such a powerful introduction to this character. If you haven't read Mockingbird before, she shows up, page 1, panel 1, just perfect, just complete and awesome and amazing. And we get something that is very close to a replication of her introduction into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
Pacing toward the camera down a corridor. It isn't that same kind of white clinical environment that we're used to from the TV show, but it works beautifully.
Yes.
And she also manages to kick in a door, which we'll learn later
Is really hard.
is harder than you might think.
There's like a process. You make sure you're wearing shoes. Like,
Lance Hunter.
Yes. I don't know if you guys read the letters pages, but in one of the letters, there's a letter in the back saying that a father used her method of kicking doors to save his child. From
Holy
the comic.
shit.
Not that his child was like in really any danger necessarily, but he locked himself in his room and couldn't get out and was panicking and they couldn't get the door open. So he used the comic to teach himself how to kick a door in. And he took a picture and showed it.
we all are definitely going to have to try the yoga poses that Bobby presents in the second trade there.
You can try the yoga poses. I'm going to try the drinks.
Okay, yes. I want to try a
me
dirty cowboy. Yeah, hell yeah. I almost got that today, but instead I opted for a Chardonnay because that seems to be Bobby's drink of choice.
And will lead to more productive podcasting.
Yeah.
I'm just going to play with the paper dolls in the back of the comics. So we jump to the beginning of the story, finding Bobby in a waiting room in a medical facility for S.H.I.E.L.D. And automatically we start getting the jokes in the background. There's Tony Stark in the waiting room reading a pamphlet on gonorrhea. There's posters in the back saying, "Do you have adamantium body parts?" And then we're introduced to the sarcasm chart, being asked about Bobby's... and then being asked about Bobby's paranoia level.
Can we talk about the sarcasm chart super quick and how I would just a flat line at the very top of that chart always?
Yes.
That's just, yeah. I just
staple another piece of paper above the
basically, yes. It's like, God, okay, we thought it stopped at 10, but Jesus, you don't even know if you're being sarcastic anymore, do you, Sarah? No, I don't. I mean, do I?
I do want to call out Hercules as one of my favorite supporting characters in the entire book.
Showing up in that waiting room injured in
He's got like
different
an
ways.
ice pack.
Every time he's injured in a different way. There's also a poster that says, "Can you get cancer from your radioactive friends?" Which is an important question, I
It's a
think.
very important question.
I need to know that if I'm going to be hanging around Bruce Banner.
It's not so much Bruce Banner as it is Peter Parker. If you read
Peter Parker.
Spider-Man Reign, which
that's the one where he kills Mary Jane because they were boning, right?
Yes,
Ugh.
and his body is still mildly radioactive. That is the most depressing comic book I have ever read in my life, ever. I can't even recommend it because it is just so bleak, but it is pretty well constructed. So if you like super sad stories about old man Peter Parker, go read Spider-Man Reign, I guess. We'll call it an
Who likes
equivocal
that?
recommendation.
Who likes that? So then we get introduced to the paranoia level scale, in which Bobby says she's at about a 5 out of 10. And then we get a cutaway scene to her almost choking out Tony Stark, saying, "Did you eat my quinoa, Stark? Because I will hurt you."
My favorite part about that particular panel is the post-it note on the refrigerator that says, "Yogurts belong to Black Widow."
I believe that.
Also, it's yogurts. There's an H in that yogurt. I don't know anyone who spells it that way.
I like the little Captain America mug.
The Captain America mug is great. We've also got a Bruce Banner mug with it says Bruce's stuff, my stuff. Yeah,
We also got a Deadpool sketch in the back.
we do. Don't touch my sausage, Heart Tony. It's all gonorrhea-y. You don't want it now.
No.
That was a bad joke. I'm sorry. I blame the Chardonnay.
I think if I remember correctly, then she goes, "Okay, maybe a 6."
Yes.
So Bobby has a meeting with her parapsychologist to see if she has psychic abilities, as we heard about in the one shot that brought on this series.
Yeah.
She tries to move a ping pong ball with her mind, and it does move. We keep seeing a weird zombie-looking person showing up in monitors as well. We're not sure what's going on with that yet. But puzzle box, guys.
Puzzle box.
Super puzzle box.
Back in the waiting room on a different day, Bobby is wearing an S&M outfit, saying, "I can explain the outfit." What's Hercules' excuse?
He's Hercules. He doesn't need an excuse.
And then Natasha Romanoff is there in the waiting room and tells Bobby that she's got nice boots. Boots, you guys.
Sassily
tells her that she's got nice boots.
Yes, that is one of my favorite panels.
She's not talking about her boots.
I'm not sure. Looking at that panel, I'm not sure she's even looking at her boots.
No, she's absolutely
follow the
looking at
outline?
Bobby's ass.
Nice
Yeah.
boots.
Nice butt.
Sure.
Nice butts.
Boots.
Both of them. The nurse asks her if she's had any hallucinations of zombies as a white zombie appears behind the nurse, and Bobby says, nope.
Nope. God, I love Bobby so much.
Bobby goes through some more psychic tests, getting them wrong, but when asked to try the ping pong ball, it disappears. Another ball, and it also disappears. Another day in the waiting room, and Hercules is there again. Also, Luke Cage and Jessica Jones with their baby in chicken pox, I assume?
I
guess so, yeah. What is their baby's name?
Danielle, named after Danny Rand.
No.
He is the godfather.
In
the comics,
wait, hang on.
he's
Okay,
amazing.
In his defense, Danny Rand in the comics is not Danny Rand in the Netflix Iron Fist.
Okay, I saw, guys, I am not kidding, like 63 seconds of Netflix's Iron Fist and immediately was like, God, this sucks.
Was it the first 63 seconds?
No, I think that it was in the, like, my husband believes in, I don't know, like punitive charges and decided that he just needed to be punished for something he had done. And so watched all of Iron Fist. And so it was like episode 2, episode 3, and I had like just gotten in from, I think, recording this podcast actually. And walked in and he was watching that. And yeah, as I'm taking off my shoes and glancing at the television, I realized, holy shit, this is a really terrible show.
Hey, I watched the whole thing because Colleen Wing, so
Apparently she's pretty cool.
she's pretty awesome.
Okay.
I haven't seen even 63 seconds of it. I mean, I can't imagine when I'm going to make the time to watch that.
Never.
Except that Defenders is coming up, and
Okay, but are we going to need to, do you need to watch Iron
Probably
Fist
not.
in order to watch
Probably
and enjoy Defenders? Probably not,
You
right?
should skip it and go
Pretty
read
sure.
Daughters of the Dragon with Colleen Wing and Misty Knight.
There you go.
to that. I mean,
Misty Knight with a robot arm,
And that
right?
should be given a Netflix series, hopefully.
Yes.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
Out of
I'm
life.
pretty sure there's probably going to be like a 3-minute everything you missed in Iron Fist catch up video on YouTube somewhere. So
Probably.
Yeah.
I'll watch that.
Yeah.
If not, I'll make
Danny
time for
Rand
it.
was the worst, and the show kind of sucked, and here's Defenders now.
Sorry.
Okay, so Mockingbird.
Yes. So this time, Bobby is with a corgi because Puzzle Box.
Puzzle box!
Also, now we're seeing a pattern of nurses being replaced, and they keep saying that the old one is in Tahiti.
Okay,
It's
so
a magical place.
yeah, I have a question. Is Tahiti a thing in the comics? Obviously, it was a thing in the TV show.
I think they're just referencing the
Okay,
show.
so she's literally just referencing the TV show.
But the fact that it wasn't previously a thing in the comics doesn't necessarily mean
That it's
it
not
isn't
now?
A thing.
Yeah, retconned in.
I mean, I could see had we got another story arc after issue 8, had we had another 3 or 4 issue arc, we could have done something with Tahiti. We could have done something with that program. So
Sure.
It feels to me like foreshadowing, but it also works just as a reference.
Okay, well, I'm into it either way.
The paranoia level of Bobby continues to increase on the chart. Bobby disappears more ping pong balls, asks where they all go, sees another white zombie, and we're back to the beginning of the issue, towards the end of our whole story. Puzzle box, y'all! Behind the smashed window are a bunch of white zombies. They are somehow connected to the ping pong balls, and Bobby has some kind of power over them. Bobby says, I don't have powers, I have symptoms. They were trying to cure me. I don't think it's working. End issue 1.
It's such a strong hook. And the idea of Bobby as a powered individual is so interesting because she's pushing back against that. And as you said, Vinton, this goes all the way back to her first introduction, where she is just a weird psychic premonition lady who
Okay,
shows
so
up
she's
in order to
basically
drive
got
the action.
clairvoyance the first time she says that.
Yeah, kind
Yeah, but
of.
she just kind
Okay.
of mentions that she has that
Yeah.
power and then never uses it.
Yeah. So
Okay.
It just gets ignored
literally
and
one
disappears.
issue. Yeah.
All right.
And then it's gone. So Chelsea Cain clearly knows her Mockingbird.
Yes. Well, I'm into that.
Issue 2 starts off in the Hellfire Club. Ratchet it up just show just how ridiculous it has always been. The Hellfire Club is a secret society prominent in Marvel Comics and other media from back in the day, based off of real British secret societies.
Yeah.
Basically,
Wait,
S&M
there's
clubs. Yeah.
really a British secret society like
Yeah.
S&M club?
something like that.
I think it's a little less S&M in real life, but
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, are you a member?
Not yet. I'm looking for the Oklahoma chapter of the Hellfire Club.
Well, that's what we're going to be starting at the end of this episode.
I have a genuine affection for the Hellfire Club because I read a lot of terrible X-Men comics in the
Yes,
1980s.
they are big.
Okay, that's where I know the Hellfire Club from.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, X-Men First Class. The bad guys are
Yeah.
the Hellfire
That's
Club.
what I thought. All right. They were decidedly less S&M.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, except
Toned down a lot
for
from
Emma
the comics.
Frost.
Well, yeah, Emma Frost was something
That's
else.
why
January
Emma Frost
Jones.
dresses
Damn.
like that is because
Okay.
she was the white queen of the Hellfire Club.
One of the reasons
That's
Emma
one of the
Frost
reasons.
dresses like that.
That's why it started that way, publication history wise.
Okay. The
Why
other
we
reason
continue-
is male gaze, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Nailed it.
Comics.
We find out that there is a very uneven rescue tally in Bobby's favor with Lance.
God, okay, can we just listen? I know that we are not talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the television show in which we have Bobby Morse and Lance Hunter, but can we just talk about how every iteration of Lance Hunter I have personally come across to this point is a complete wanker, and I hate him.
I hate that guy. I
hate that guy.
in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I hate that guy in this book.
Yeah.
At least in the book, he's played as
a complete and total wanker, and like Bobby is aware of that thing.
He's your backup emergency Clint. And I mean, that's Clint. So it's not like you're aiming.
Listen, I have a really extreme fondness for Clint personally, but I get that no one else likes him. That's fine.
If someone is nice to Wanda,
yes,
then you love them forever.
And I love them forever.
He is definitely more likable in the comic, and I think that's because, as we will talk about as we continue through this whole comic is written from the POV of Mockingbird, and so everything is just kind of her version of reality. Things could be different in the real world in many different ways, but this is how she sees the world. Mm-hmm. So we get a page spread of Bobby beating up everyone in the room, which is beautiful.
Yep.
Lance was there to save the Queen of England, but found himself tied up and being tortured.
Yep.
You know, maybe not like super villain way. Maybe that's just what they do. Seems to be just what they do.
I don't think that you just show up just for the champagne at this party if you're all wearing leather and spikes and things, right? Like somebody is getting whipped because they chose to be whipped,
we
right?
We joke about that as it continues on. We find out that he has memberships to the Hellfire Club all throughout the world because he travels a lot
Lance has
for
a
work.
fetish, is what I'm saying.
This is where we get the chart for how to kick in the door.
Yes.
Yes.
Vinton, do you want to explain to us how you kick in a door?
First, wear shoes.
Yes. Well, actually, wear shoes is step 5 on this 5-step list.
Well, I feel like it should be step 1.
Well, it should be, but I mean, Bobby's had a little bit of champagne, so she's being a little snarky. No, you lead with your heel of your kicking foot. You plant your back heel of standing leg. You lean into your kick. You make contact below the log. It's the weakest place, and you wear shoes, and that's how you kicked in a door.
Just in case you ever need to rescue
more
someone.
you know.
Like Lance Hunter.
Do-do-do-do.
They get caught, and the henchmen are going to leave them there chained up over the weekend because they are already working overtime. I love the idea of
It's
henchmen
so
working overtime.
good.
Which Lance Hunter snarkily says, no one important has cared about the Hellfire Club since the 80s, which is true.
True. Yes.
Lance goads the villain into shocking him before leaving because they're all standing in a giant wet room, and it shocks all the baddies, and he breaks his bonds.
Everyone in that room now has athlete's foot. I mean, so some kind of.
Ew.
It's a dank basement dungeon
It's gross.
thing.
Also, it's in England, so you know it's like wicked old.
Yeah, and because it's in England when they're
But no, okay,
traveling.
I'm just saying that like America is very young as far as countries go. We don't have like centuries old catacombs. Who knows how old this like cave is? It's been there since Shakespeare's day. He was the founding father of the Hellfire Club.
That's probably
Perhaps.
Him and the Earl of Sandwich.
Because these tunnels are in England, there is a small room as they're traveling through. They subdue the villain and come out of a trapdoor in front of the queen and her corgi. The one from the waiting room, probably?
Probably so, yes,
That's
yeah.
where it shows up. But yeah, that's the first time we're seeing a corgi here. Later, also, Puzzle Box.
Puzzle box.
Later, Bobby makes fun of Lance for his numerous membership cards to the Hellfire Club around the globe and then cuffs him to the bed and dons her leather outfit she used as a disguise to get into the club. But she is called in for a medical checkup, which she has to drop everything and go in immediately when she gets those calls, and leaves him cuffed, thus explaining the S&M gear from the waiting room in issue 1.
And the corgi.
And the corgi.
And the corgi.
Because you wouldn't leave, an innocent dog in the care of Lance
Innocent
Hunter.
dog.
No, absolutely not. God, I love this series so much. It's so fucking brilliant, you guys. It's so damn good. And Bobby is a gem and a treasure, and I want to be her.
So in the leathers page for this comic, someone asked if, since she promised to have a shirtless Clint, would it be rude to ask for a shirtless Bobby? And she said in the letter, here's my approach to Bobby. This is her story. Is she a reliable narrator? Not a chance. I'm not either. She remembers herself in the best light possible, me too, and she gets a few details wrong. I never get anything wrong. For instance, in Hunter's version of the issue 2, he's wearing a tuxedo and Bobby is topless in a latex thong. Is he right? Is she? Probably in the quote unquote real life, they are both wearing pleated khakis, golf shirts, and sensible hiking boots. The point is, this is not Hunter's version. We've read that version. Okay, not Hunter's per se, but the guy's version. Bobby has only ever appeared in the guy's version. She's been drugged and abducted by a creepy cowboy, dated Kazar, the original Man Without a Shirt, in the dubious had the dubious distinction of being associated with the Great Lake Avengers and has been duped, tricked, and bamboozled more times than the citizens of Flint, Michigan. Have you seen the costume they made her wear in the 80s? All of which I would argue are the narrative equivalents of taking her shirt off. It's a power metaphor, my friends. Is my feminist agenda showing yet? Can you see it under my skirt? Will we ever see Bobby topless? Maybe. Those scenes with Clint will be on my not safe for work fanfic site.
Hey, I have to find that.
But we will never see Bobby take off her shirt, by which I mean she will never serve someone else's story just for the sake of it. She will never suffer an absolute lack of agency only as a means to move forward some other character's narrative. She gets to be the one who wins. Chelsea.
I adore Chelsea Cain so much.
Yeah,
I just looked up 1980s Mockingbird outfit, and holy shit, you guys.
Did you look up her not safe for work Tumblr?
No, that's going to be after the show.
And then on the back of the issue, we get paper dolls that you can cut out and dress up. It's really fun.
Yeah, but not if you own a trade, because then you're going to fuck up all your pages.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Photocopy.
Good point.
We're just solving problems left and right.
Yeah.
This brings us to issue 3.
This one is probably my favorite. Like, we get this entire montage of like Bobby being a kid and trying so hard to get super. I love this.
This
I
is
love,
my favorite too.
Yeah, that like from moment one, you know, she was like, "No, I want to be a superhero. I want to save people. I want to have all these powers." And she talks about, you know, like, but you know, I fell out of that hobby because I got into the thing that all girls get into at that age: science and math.
I adore it. And it actually shows that Bobby would have been a great candidate for the super soldier program. If it continued.
Yeah.
Bobby would make a fantastic Captain America.
Absolutely.
Are you all right?
No.
You need a moment? You okay?
I'm
Sarah's
dying.
going to write some fan fiction after we're done here this evening.
Please continue.
So the issue starts off with Bobby talking about having tried everything as a kid to get superpowers. In the end, all the heroes had something she didn't, a Y chromosome. Now we know that there have been women heroes since early on, but not many, and the way that they were treated by their creative teams, they weren't always something to be looked up to.
They were something to be looked at.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This greatly reflects Cain's and many women's experiences growing up. Boys get to be superheroes through their media. Girls just get to be the damsel in distress for the superheroes to save. As you said, Bobby said she fell in love with science. And she still does science these days, but it's more of a hobby because she became a spy because she learned that you don't need the Y chromosome to be a superhero. You just need balls.
Hell yeah.
She then says, no more sexism, no more racism. Female heroes are just as celebrated as their male counterparts in this future. We won the war, ladies. Ha, just kidding. Still sucks.
Which is probably my favorite panel ever. It's funny because it's true and it also hurts.
So now we get introduced to this young girl who got powers just that very morning, who has taken some other young girls, her classmates, hostage. Now, seeing a theme in the background news talking about a mass antelope die-off puzzle box that will become important. And we get this narration from Bobby saying, what's so scary about 12-year-old girls? They're shapeshifters. Not quite one thing or another. How can we have meaningful dialogue with adolescent girls when we live in a culture that still can't talk about tampons?
But really, though, as the resident woman on this podcast, can I just talk about how frustrating it is that we still cannot have a conversation about menstruation or tampons or any of that? It's just like, God, I mean, if you throw a tampon into a boys' locker room, they'll all explode. Like,
That's
they
true.
will
I've
just,
seen it happen.
they will die instantaneously.
It's kind of an epidemic.
Yeah.
There's a member of the SWAT team trying to calm her down, this young girl with newly formed powers, and she pushes him off the roof, but is saved by Mockingbird. Not only is it refreshing to have this female lead here, but to have her working with her superhero brain without her superpowers, she's just like thinking through things. There's a panel where she's talking about the science behind the people falling and how quickly she'll need to move to save them all. And it's so refreshing to have smart women in comics.
Yeah.
I really, really adore it. This is like...
And Bobby is absolutely one of the smartest. Yeah.
The superpowered girl is singing Angelica's part of the Schuyler Sisters song in Hamilton, American musical.
Hey, Vin, do you know anything about Hamilton?
I think I do, maybe.
You heard of it?
I ran a podcast on it, but I don't really know much. I should probably say. No, it's amazing.
Which is the second of two Hamilton references that we get, like, from this Chelsea Cain Mockingbird run, which is really, really funny.
It is revealed in a caption that this girl's name is Rachel Oakley. She is a bacon-eating vegetarian, and her favorite musical is Hamilton. Mockingbird thinks that she wasn't trying to hold her friends hostage. Rachel reveals that she doesn't know how to put them down, so she is waiting for the sun to come out.
Because her powers are somehow connected to rainbows.
Yes.
Yes.
And the idea that when the sun comes out, the rainbow will inevitably fade. This is gorgeous. This is completely unnecessary of Chelsea Cain to create something so absolutely unique. I've never seen a variation on this power before. I love it. But it also speaks to this idea of adolescence. It speaks to this idea of the sudden manifestation of power and not knowing what to do. But even here, Rachel is thinking it through. She's not passive. She has a plan. It's not a great plan, but it's a plan. I just love the way that.
Did you guys notice how Rachel's hair color changes as the panels are moving forward, as we're moving through this scene? Like, it starts out, she's a brunette, and by the end, she's got like that bright teal hair color.
I did not pay attention
didn't
to
notice
that.
Yeah,
That's
no.
You did.
I didn't notice it the first time I read it either, but yeah, I mean, initially when you see her, she's a brunette, and then several pages later, I mean, like, we're talking like bright aqua green, like mermaid girl hair.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
That's fantastic.
So at this point in the story, a news chopper gets too close and starts breaking the bubble with its
This part's really
air.
intense.
And then Rachel, worried about her friends falling, uses her power to push the helicopter, but it starts to fall. Mockingbird can't get to it in time and it crashes to the ground in flames.
She also melts a dude's face off. Rachel does. Unintentionally.
Yeah. That does happen.
Yeah.
The news ticker says women can't handle power, too unstable for office, might destroy planets.
I mean, we would if you guys would give us like 5 seconds to do anything.
A news reporter from the ground starts yelling at the girl, and she uses her powers, pulling the color out of him and killing him.
Yes.
Mockingbird has the SWAT sniper shoot the bubble and catches the kids in the midair, saving the day. The young girls all wear shirts that have logos of their favorite female superheroes, which I love.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. The news ticker says, nation stops being sexist, starts talking about tampons, and then it's about time, says Mockingbird. And I think Chelsea Cain broke some kind of world record for getting the word tampons in the comic book twice.
She must have. Yeah, I mean, like,
that. Yeah.
I would be shocked to find literally any other comic that uses the word tampon.
Yeah.
So that's the end of our issue 3. And in the back, we have more paper dolls, cutouts, and my favorite one, which is the corgi with a shotgun.
Yup.
This is my favorite issue in the entire run. I think it's so good. And it's a perspective on something that we've seen before because, as I've said previously on Excelsior, I read X-Men growing up. So I've seen sudden adolescent manifestation of powers. I've seen that story a million times, and this is maybe the best example I've ever seen. It's just incredible. Bobby's fantastic. The entire world that's presented is good, and it's funny and sharp and dark in exactly the right way. It just works for me.
That corgi's name, by the way, is Khazar.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think that, the Queen of England named that corgi Khazar, but when Bobby adopted that dog, she named him Khazar.
The corgi also does not wear a shirt.
No, he does not.
Yeah. Well, I think that shows you something about the way that Bobby saw Khazar. He was more of a pet than a boyfriend.
I can believe that.
Issue 4 starts off with a letter saying that she has used up all of her S.H.I.E.L.D. medical beeper replacements, 10, because they're expensive. They've included a standard medical beeper, which I really like. She's just losing the medical beepers all the time. And we're now in Kazakhstan. 1 week ago, there was a travel brochure for Kazakhstan amongst the papers in the previous issue because Puzzle Box. Bobby, investigating a mass antelope die-off. Puzzle Box.
Yeah.
The newspaper headlines in previous issues. Seeing a pathogen that killed them that is also in her system. Time jump to definitely not Kazakhstan. Under the sea, roughly yesterday.
Do.
Bobby approaches a Total Idea Mechanics secret evil lab, and that's Tim. That's
Can
Tim,
we talk
not
about
AIM,
this
but Tim.
really quick?
There's
Because I love this.
There's no need for this not to just be AIM.
Yeah, no.
But the fact that Chelsea Cain uses this as an opportunity to make a really dumb joke about Marvel's supervillainy
Yes.
is so good.
Bobby straight up is like, okay, Tim.
I also like that there's just like C-Lab 2020 feel to it all.
There really is. Yeah, no, their outfits and everything.
Yeah, there's just goofy like keep out signs all over the outside of this secret underwater lair. Like there's just gonna be people coming by.
Right.
Like no trespassing. Don't come in this lab.
Secret sea lab.
I like that when Bobby gets inside, she's in there taking off her flippers and everything, and then one of the evil scientists walks in and says, "What are you doing in the women's locker room?" And she says, "I'm a woman." And he says, "This is a top secret underwater lab. Didn't you see the sign?" She says, "I'm not a solicitor. The other sign. We're international science terrorists." So basically you're AIM, but different. I get it. We're not AIM, we're TIM. Total idea mechanics. Suggestion. When you find an intruder, it might be a good idea to raise the alarm. Also, you'd be much scarier if you didn't talk, Tim. And she takes down this Tim agent.
I love her so much. She's
Also, when
everything I want to be.
When she's taking down the evil scientist, he says, why do you hate science? Which I think is not only hilarious in context, but also exactly what chauvinistic scientists and people who say they love science say to women when they're trying to get into science.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you hate science? Because she obviously doesn't hate science. She loves science.
She's got a PhD in biochemistry. She's a fucking genius.
He's a bad scientist.
In both senses of the word.
Yeah, not only is he a bad scientist, he's also a bad scientist.
Yes. Bobby is looking for Hawkeye, who is about to be dissected. We see Hawkeye with the Tim scientists surrounding him, but one of them is Bobby in disguise. One of the scientists says, "You're no science terrorist." And the Tim scientists pass out due to
This might be my favorite issue. I can't decide. This one is also just so damn good.
I totally love throughout this issue the way that Chelsea Cain manages to evoke this spirit of like glossy plastic 60s spy action.
Yes.
This is absolutely a throwback to Mockingbird and Hawkeye.
Yeah.
It works beautifully well.
If you like Archer, you're going to love this comic.
That's
basically,
exactly
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and like the outfits whenever you see like Clint and Bobby like in their marriage counseling when it's very clearly 1962 and they're probably both a little high.
Yeah, so when all the scientists pass out, Clint asks why he didn't pass out due to the toxin, and she says, "If I did expose you to repeated low doses of an experimental neurotoxin during our marriage, it was only to inoculate you, and because I didn't want to use it on myself till I know it worked." And he says, "You poison me?" And it cuts off to their marriage counseling and him saying, "Sometimes I feel like she's studying me like I'm some kind of research subject instead of her husband."
Don't be ridiculous.
Don't be ridiculous. My tongue feels funny. Bobby tells Hawkeye that she's there to rescue him. And he says, "I didn't need rescuing until about an hour ago. You couldn't have gotten here that fast. Besides, Coulson wouldn't have sent you. He knows you distract me." They fight more Tim scientists while Clint tries to figure out why Bobby is really there. Another marriage counseling flashback.
Yep.
We find out that Tim is studying the same pathogen Bobby is, but they want to weaponize it. Bobby says she followed him there through Clint's credit card and email activity. The facility is getting flooded. Bobby suits up Clint in scuba gear and asks that he makes sure that her organs aren't donated. And then locks herself in the room, filling it with water, almost drowning, just to test how much the virus in her wants to live. She survives and paralyzes Clint with a kiss, again saying, "My tongue feels funny." Yes. She then goes to take the vial, and we end with a penis joke. That's not a vial.
Which is amazing and brilliant and wonderful and perfect.
Which I realized I didn't say in my notes. He said that he had a vial hidden on him, but he's just wearing like...
Yes.
All he's wearing, it's a Speedo. He's just in a Speedo. Yeah.
So she reaches in to grab the vial, and that's not the vial.
But it also works as like the end of every James Bond movie.
Yes.
Harkening back to that 60s spy thriller thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's Chelsea Cain, you guys, she's so good.
She's so good. She's so unnecessarily
She's so
good.
legit. And then we get at the beginning of the next issue my favorite page in the entire book.
Yeah,
this
it's
is
so good.
so good.
So issue 5 starts off with her standing in a field by herself saying, "I'm a special snowflake." And then other heroes start to gather in around her. And she says, "Just like all the other special snowflakes." And you have Miss Marvel talking to Captain Marvel saying, "Feel my muscle." Hellcat talking to Black Panther about her bodysuit.
We got Thor and the Falcon in the background, and we've got Hulk and Spider-Man. Spider-Man saying, "I think I'm allergic to grass."
And then the next panel, it says, "Does it ever seem like there are more superheroes than there used to be?" And then the next panel, there's even more heroes, and especially a bunch of the new ones.
Devil Dinosaur and Moon Girl. We've got Iron Man. Is that the Vision that Iron Man is talking to?
Yes.
It looks like it. We've got Doctor
Storm.
Strange.
We've got Laura Kinney Wolverine.
We've got Giant Man's
Daredevil,
crotch
Giant
concealed
Man's
by
crotch, Nova, and Luke Cage holding baby Danny Rand.
And they're all just talking and going on about their business. I love it. It's so
awesome.
great.
But first, zombies. So now we get back to the end of issue 1.
Yeah.
Puzzle box. Back to the zombies behind the glass in the parapsychologist's office. And this issue tells us that it's not just a puzzle box, it's more of a circle. Or so the preface of the issue tells us.
Yeah.
Bobby is throwing around zombies with her mind like a mother effing Jedi. But she says she doesn't have powers. The virus inside her does.
Okay, I want to just pause here because this is such a brilliant idea that isn't really explored as fully as it could have been. This could have been a 4-year crossover epic story for Marvel.
Yeah.
And here it is dispensed within 5 issues. It's astonishing. The idea that mutations are more prevalent in the 616, so this virus has mutated to the point that it has superpowers. That is the greatest thing.
It's a really excellent
That
concept.
is like a Grant Morrison level idea. That is like a Chris Claremont level idea. I am so thrilled to see an idea of that caliber used so powerfully in this story. I just love it. I'm sorry. I'm going to climb down from the soapbox now because this really does feel like something. This could be the next Marvel crossover. This could be the next, we spend 3 years building to this. This is the next Secret Invasion. This is the next Civil War.
Yeah.
And instead it's just used here because it speaks to Bobby's skill as a character.
Yeah.
God, it's so good.
Bobby saves her doctor, who says that there is an untested cure that they think might work on her virus. We are then treated to a history of failed things that people thought might work, which I love.
These cutaways, this feels very much to me like the work of Ryan North, who's currently working on Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, who wrote, of course, writes famously dinosaur comics.
I love Ryan North.
His skill with a random cutaway joke is almost peerless, except for Chelsea Cain, because the way that we get right from the start, the paranoia chart, the sarcasm chart, the how to kick down a door, all of these cutaways work beautifully for me.
The doctors at this facility had injected Bobby's virus into cadavers. That's what created these zombies. We find out that the Infinity Serum and the Super Soldier viruses and Bobby made her the perfect host. And if she cures the virus in her, it should fix the zombie problem as well, because the virus in them is attracted to the virus in her.
Right. That's zombie outbreak convenience there.
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
If you kill the head vampire, all the other vampires will die.
Yes.
We were then treated to a wonderful cutaway map of the first few floors of the facility.
Amazing.
Which I love cutaways. It was my favorite thing in like educational books growing up. They're so amazing.
And this goes back to the earliest days of Marvel. We would get
That's what I was wondering. Like
of,
this,
the Baxter Building. Yeah.
Sure, or like the Bat Cave or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And this one's especially fun because you can play a little game called Spot the Pooping Hulk.
I mean, he's right there. I see
He's
him.
right there. It's easy.
Yeah, it's not hard.
It's an easy game.
It's a good easy game. Play with your kids.
Makes you feel good about yourself. That's how quickly you can do it. Bobby proves that she is a real hero by mentioning that she had third row orchestra tickets to see Hamilton that she is giving up by saving the day here.
She really is a real American hero.
She's the best of us.
Yeah, yeah.
Drops into a room with Howard the Duck and Miles Morales Spider-Man enters. Both of them are patients at the
chicken pox.
Yes. She explains the situation to them and mentions 20,000 Americans donate their bodies to science every year. Have you ever wondered where all those bodies end up? To which Miles says, "Oh my God, is that where Sloppy Joes come from?"
So I need to be reading Spider-Man comics with Miles Morales. Yes.
Well, it's fantastic.
Particularly now because Miles had a slightly more distinct voice when he was introduced, and particularly when he came into the 616. But now he has become Peter Parker.
Oh,
it's the
he's so
greatest.
good.
Okay.
So
okay.
good.
No. So it's still good. We're not like.
Oh no. He's great. Yeah,
Okay,
you should
okay.
definitely read his books.
Miles has chicken pox, which I assume he got from Jessica Jones and Luke Cage because puzzle box or
Oh
circle.
my God, that's genius! Was he like hanging out with him? That's great.
Yeah.
It's
He
actually
did
super.
in an issue maybe around this time actually. I remember reading an
okay.
issue where he met with him on a rooftop and
Wow.
they called him out for being too flippant about his secret identity.
That's amazing. It's actually super dangerous for people like in their teens and adulthood to like get chickenpox at BTW. So I hope that Miles was okay because if you're not careful, like adolescent boys who get chickenpox can end up becoming sterile.
Well, maybe it wasn't exactly chickenpox because he is like a radioactive spider guy too. So he could have been something
Spider-pox.
just like chickenpox.
Yeah, it could have been
Spider-pox.
anything.
It was spider-pox.
That's fair.
Spider-Pox sounds like the worst disease.
I don't want it.
No, it's just a full body like necrotic, awful flesh-eating virus.
Moving right along. Bobby lays some science down about viruses, like the fact that it is because of a virus that we are all here through evolution. And we get a sweet team up with Spider-Man, Howard, and Bobby versus virus-powered zombies, which this is why this is maybe my favorite issue.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
They enter a room with all of the cadavers that haven't yet come active and a couple that are in the moment coming active to come after them. And the antiviral storage room is just on the other side. We then get an explanation for the ping pong balls, kind of.
Kind of. Yeah, this
fully.
it gets just a little shaky here.
They teleport, I guess, into the throats of the zombies. That's why she has
Because
power over the
Bobby's
zombies.
virus wanted to find the other version of her virus that was coming alive, and so was sending the ping pong balls to the sources of the other viruses.
Yeah.
Whatever, I'm into it. Who cares?
Yeah. Oh, also.
Howard the Duck is there. I believe anything.
Yeah, that's true. Also, puzzle box for the ping pong balls. Bobby narrates about how mutations will cause an entire species to make an evolutionary leap forward. She reiterates that this virus has evolved to have powers, and then says it sounds like something a biologist would want to protect. And as Miles gives her the antiviral, she smashes it to the ground.
Because Bobby is a badass and doesn't fuck
is
around.
Indeed, a badass.
The baddest ass.
Yes.
And I like the little text message box at the very end of the page, at the end of the whole issue, that says, "Hey Siri, on my way home, remind me to pick up some sodium hychloride bleach, a blocks of wine, and bubble bath." I'll remind you.
And that's the end of the first trade.
Yep,
It is.
the end of
The puzzle
puzzle
box.
box.
Yes.
So what do we think about the puzzle box structure? What do we think about this first story arc? Because it feels very much like the first arc of a series that was intended to be an ongoing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love this idea of a puzzle box. I don't think it's something you could keep going through an ongoing series,
No, absolutely not.
but it's so brilliant. How do you even do that?
Yeah, no, the idea that you've got part 1 and then part 5 and then everything in between you can switch around and it all is still a coherent story, and you're going to pick up different things from that story
And
is
almost that you
wild.
have to reread it in a
Yes.
different order.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
They speak to each other as well as speaking to the
I still haven't done that yet. I have not read them out of order yet. I've read this comic, I think, 3 or 4 times, and I've always just read it like directly. Because, like I said, I've just got the trade, so I've read it just directly in order. But I think I am going to have to spend an afternoon like just reading it in a different order and seeing what happens when you do that.
I read it online using the Marvel Unlimited service, so you can borrow my login for that and go take
Excellent.
a look at it, 'cause
Perfect.
that's super easy.
And I think it's worth mentioning that she says one of the reasons that this really intrigued her to do it this way was because she wants people to get their money's worth when they buy an issue of a comic.
That's
She
so
doesn't want them to just
cool.
spend $4 or $5 on a comic, read it once and be like, well, I'm done with that. She wants them to have enough to go back to and to read it over and over again and get your full $4 worth.
Which speaks not just to the narrative density, but also the density of the art, the density of the comedy. This
Yes.
is, I took a long time to read these books because they're just so packed full
There
of
is
stuff.
so much. We've talked before about how reading comics is really difficult for me personally because I just want to like read through all the dialogue and like just, even though the art is beautiful and gorgeous, I just want to move through. But I mean, like in this, I'm like, hang on, there are Post-it notes from Natasha just like hanging out. I have to find all of them. It's like a secret game now.
Yeah.
Every panel feels like a game, feels like
Yes.
a puzzle.
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
Which on that note, in the letter pages for this issue, someone pointed out the Kubrick Shining reference that's in the Shield Medical Facility having the same carpet as the Overlook Hotel.
which is a very
What?
distinct.
Which I forgot to bring up when they actually came up in the comics, but Cain used this moment to reiterate that we see the story through Bobby's perspective. Did they really have the carpet? Maybe not. But that's what Bobby thinks of this place. So it's a good reminder that comics are always from someone's perspective. And through this, we can have grace for all sorts of goofs and continuity errors here and there. That's how you can get through these comics. Just go, well, that's just depends on who told the story.
Okay, that's really, really interesting to me because now it's like, Chelsea Cain straight up tells us Bobby is an unreliable narrator. How much of this actually happened, Bob? Like, how much of this did you actually do? Like,
I think
what
it
is?
all happened. It's just the way that we
How
do
did
happened.
it happen?
Yeah, maybe.
We'll have
What
some
did
more-
Natasha say to you in the waiting room?
Nice boots.
Nice boots.
But I've always looked at comics this way because it really does fill in the blanks with continuity errors and more. Even things that you don't like, you can just go, well, that just must have been the way that someone saw that. That wasn't the way that actually happened in my canon, my head canon. But I really like the idea of it being purposefully done here with so many details. And that's what really makes this comic a work of genius that you can just return to over and over again.
Yeah, I think that's a really great way of looking, particularly at these, single hero title comics where the hero is offering narration alongside the action. Because, of course, there are other kinds of comics. There are third-person comics where you get a present narrator who is obviously framing the action. So you're not necessarily in the POV of any particular character. But Chelsea Cain has done this beautifully. And what applies to comics, of course, applies to all stories. All stories are going to be, to some degree or another, subjective. So I love that. And I love her complete mastery of her craft here.
Yes.
We haven't really talked about the fact that Chelsea Cain is a relatively recent addition to the comics industry, that she hasn't written a lot, but what she has written has been fantastic.
It's so
pure of
good.
anything
Yeah.
out there.
So now we're at volume 2 of Mockingbird. This volume is only 3 issues of the Chelsea Cain series, which we will be covering. The actual collection of comics has a few issues of an older comic with Mockingbird in them. We will not be covering those.
No.
Just the final 3 issues here leading to issue 8.
Yes. Yeah. And not a puzzle box.
Not a puzzle box.
No, this is very linear storytelling.
So issue 6, we get a letter introducing the comics setting on a nerd cruise to the Bermuda Triangle and a note from the captain, editor Katie Kubert, who is responsible for letting Chelsea Cain get away with so much, reportedly in the letters pages, that keynote speaker Hawkeye will be replaced by John Roderick doing an ascot tying seminar. This is Roderick of the Long Winters, who does the My Brother, and Me theme song.
So we have a lot to kind of cover here. So this was coming out right as Civil War II was happening.
Yes.
And did anybody give a shit about Civil War II?
I read it.
That wasn't my question.
That happened in it, but overall, it was not good, and they just vilified Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, when she just got really popular and really awesome. So
yeah, odd choice.
Yeah, we already saw Minority Report, Marvel. You didn't need to do that. But Hawkeye killed Bruce Banner, the Hulk, in Civil War II.
So Bruce Banner is dead now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
How long is that going to last?
As of this recording. Wait, let me check my watch. Yes, as of this recording.
Still
dead.
Yeah. That hasn't affected much of the Marvel Universe except for the ongoing Hulk series, which is now starring She-Hulk. And that's really affecting her a lot because she also got put into a coma during the beginning of the series.
Yes, I remember that happening in Hellcat.
She's dealing with a lot of things currently. And
she's his cousin?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So he's dead. What we found out in Civil War II is that Hawkeye did it because he asked him to. Bruce Banner left him a video saying, "You're the only one I trust to take me out if you think I'm going to become a rampage and hurt people." And so he entrusted Clint to do this. Whether he actually was going to or not is the question that we don't know. But they went to trial, and we find out throughout this series what happens with that, so I won't spoil it quite yet there because we'll talk about that. But at this moment, he is supposedly on trial for killing Bruce Banner. And so that's why he can't be the keynote speaker here on this nerd cruise.
I love the idea of you've got this nerd cruise. You've got, just this ship full of total dorks and nerds and geeks. And you literally get a member of the Avengers to come and be your keynote speaker.
I mean, but it would be Hawkeye, right? You're not going to get Stark to come on a geek cruise.
Listen, I love Hawkeye. I love Hawkeye unquestionably, unwaveringly, and not just because he was nice to Wanda in Age of Ultron, but I read My Life as a Weapon, the first trade of the Hawkeye series, and it's amazing.
That's fair.
Yes.
Before that, Hawkeye was not the most popular character in the Avengers.
Sure, which is fine.
Yeah. So also on this page, there's a Wi-Fi password, which seems just like random letters.
Oh my God, I was hoping that you would know what this was. Please tell me.
You just got to move each letter back one or maybe forward one. Either way, you either back or forward. I don't know which one it is. And it's decoded to say Hulk lives.
What?
But yeah, so Hulk lives is going to come up multiple times throughout this.
Yeah.
So even right here at the beginning, puzzle box, but not really.
Not really.
Just a lot of details. I'm sure we're missing a ton. We purposely left those out actually so that you can
Easter eggs.
We don't want to spoil everything for you. So if you find things that we didn't mention, it's because we left them there for you.
That's right. Yeah, we wanted you to find them.
Clearly our knowledge.
Tweet at us at Excelsior Cast on Twitter.
And let us know what you found so that we can know that you enjoyed what we left out. We find out that Bobby got a ticket sent to her with her old last name of Barton, claiming that the sender has vital information for her, and she feels like this is a setup, like you would. She decided to go anyways, since the trial for Hawkeye killing Banner just started and she wants to get out of town.
Yeah.
She goes disguised, but realizes that she doesn't really need it, saying Hawkeye fans like to pretend she doesn't exist.
So I'm guessing that is just a reference to like real life. Do real life fans of Hawkeye just kind of like to be Mockingbird? No.
I think it might be more that real life fans of Mockingbird like to pretend that she was never married to Hawkeye.
Okay.
Me too.
All right.
Yeah, I think in general, the chauvinistic side of like male comic fans like to ignore the female. She was just eye candy. Who cares if she was there or not? Who cares if she was married to Hawkeye or not?
Okay.
And so I think that kind of plays into that. They don't care that she's a actual person.
An actual person. Okay. All right.
We see Bobby sitting in her room with the news in the background talking about Clint's trial, and she cries. In the comics, Hawkeye harshly disapproved of Bobby letting a villain die, and that's what led to their relationship ending. So I'm sure this is really difficult for her, seeing that Hawkeye is on trial for murdering a hero here. And I originally put this note in here before I actually knew where this was going, because I actually didn't read Volume 2 until we were reading it for this. I thought I did, and I got to it and I was like, oh, I never read this.
Oh.
So it was really interesting going through it the first time and taking notes and then realizing, oh, that comes up later. Oh, well. That's spoilers.
Fantastic. That's like finding an unopened Christmas present the day after Christmas.
Right. I mean, or I could just say, puzzle box. She gets a note to meet a man with a horse head in the ballroom for gambling that night.
And by gambling, what they actually mean is D&D.
Dungeons and Dragons is what she is playing. The dice that she's rolling. I like that she's talking about rolling a dice, and then you clearly see it's a 20-sided dice before they zoom out, and it's Dungeons and Dragons. And there's superhero cosplayers everywhere.
There's so many stories, so many Hulks, all the Hulks. Every Hulk is here.
The room is filled with people playing amazingly nerdy games, and quite a few people wearing horse heads, actually. But one grabs her attention and leads her into a hallway, but then disappears. In the hallway, Bobby finds a stampede of corgis and Lance Hunter, who is on the cruise for the annual Royal Society of Corgi Enthusiasts retreat.
This is one of those moments where we wonder how deeply in Bobby's POV we are.
So deep, right? There's no way they let a stampede of corgis on this boat.
I'm kind of into it, though.
Bobby gets another note telling her to meet at the starboard pool at 2 p.m. Horsehead tells Bobby that he has evidence that could sway the jury in Clint's trial, but tells her he'll explain it tomorrow and leaves it at that. Lance shows up again wearing that I'm nuts about corgi butts shirt, which, okay.
Would you rather have an Ask Me About My Feminist Agenda shirt or a I'm Nuts About Corgi Butts shirt?
Obviously, ask me about my feminist agenda. Like, okay, here's the thing.
Is it close?
No, it's not. No, here's the situation. Like, if there were only two shirts and it was just Vinton and I, and we suddenly found ourselves in a situation where, like, we were both shirtless and required these shirts, Vinton would have to wear the feminist agenda shirt because he would be better at it than I would be, and I would have to wear the corgi butt shirt.
I would be better.
Yeah. You're smarter than I am about these things.
You take the feminist agenda one because it means more coming from you.
Does it?
And I'll take the corgi butts one because I'll take that bullet for you.
Thanks, Vinton.
Friendship. Look at that.
Friendship. Team friendship.
Bobby tells us that spies don't ever say what they mean, and we get some fun translations.
I love this entire
dialogue.
sequence. It's so damn good.
It's so amazing. The translations stop as Lance expresses genuine concern, and Bobby narrates that spies aren't supposed to say what they mean. Then all of their dialogue starts translating as sex over and over and over.
Sex.
The two go to the Maker Fair, where the nerdy crafts are being peddled. The shops shown sell most of their stuff as we go through from panel because it skips time. Except the guy selling driftwood chainsaw sculptures of Alpha Flight. He only sold a North Star to Bobby.
Apparently 2 North Stars. One to Bobby
2.
and one to Horsehead.
There's only one visual gun, but apparently there was another one sold at some point.
I would buy a little chainsaw crafted North Star. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Who is North Star?
North Star is the leader of Alpha Flight.
What is Alpha Flight?
Alpha Flight is the premier Canadian team of superheroes.
Yep.
North Star is actually distinctive in the 616 because for a long while he was the most prominent out gay superhero.
Oh.
Yeah. Alpha Flight basically are X-Men bit players through the 80s and the 90s.
Is North Star the one who got married and it was like a whole big deal in the comics? Okay. I'm on board again.
And when leaving the craft market, Lance says, "Do you want me to help you find a place to put it?" Talking about the North Star doll, but maybe not. And
Defo not. Totally not.
And Bobby says in her narration, "I want Hunter to give it to me. His advice on interior design." ... His advice on interior design.
Picking up from the very subtle subtext on the previous page.
She then sees Hawkeye when she looks at him and says goodnight to him.
Well, sees an icon of Hawkeye's mask superimposed over his face, which is really interesting and maybe more sophisticated than it would need to be. I love that beat.
Yeah. Bobby meets Horsehead again, who continues to talk but not give any actual information. So she reveals that she knows everything about him, including that he lives with his cat.
His
and he starts
cat
crying
died
because
last
his cat
week.
died. She has just been playing along this whole time. Also, Lance runs by chasing corgis. Later in the morning, Bobby finds Lance, who is drunk, and asking why he's never met Hawkeye.
This is like excellent. This is beautiful and perfect,
Yes.
and I love that. Okay, you know how in Fight Club you never really see them together, like
Yep.
Yes.
like just this whole. It's so
Yeah,
good.
spoilers for Fight Club, it's because they're the same person.
Yes.
She makes a Fight Club reference about him, asking which one is Tyler Durden? Which one is the real person? Turns out Lance stole Horsehead's room key when he ran by earlier. His real name is Garfield, but I've grown accustomed to calling him Horsehead, so I'm going to keep calling him Horsehead.
That sounds
I
good.
like it.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
into it.
They find Horsehead in his room, stabbed in the chest, and it says
I'm sorry,
"Hope
you
lives"
skipped
on the
a
wall.
very important
skip? Let us
set of
skip.
panels where Bobby is like, meet me in my room at 11 o'clock p.m. And Lance shows up and he's like, I'm here, totally naked, except for the diamond porpoise covering his manhood. And he sees that Bobby is straight up dressed up to go burglaring. And he's like, and then 10 minutes later shows up dressed to go
You're right.
burgle.
I don't know how I forgot that. Also, then they're in an elevator full of people that look like them, and they go, "Oh, are you going to the
Ninja dance? What do you guys think is a ninja dance?
It's where people dress up as ninjas and go dancing.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's a lot simpler than what I was. Okay.
Turn out the lights. You don't play any music. It's just a lot of very quiet shuffling. Just very quiet shuffling.
Shing.
And a lot of avenging your dead father, obviously.
Clearly, yes, no, naturally.
And you all drive away on ninja motorcycles.
Ninjas don't have motorcycles. What?
It's a type of motorcycle.
Ninja brand motorcycle.
Ninja brand.
Oh. I was super confused. I was thinking about like the warriors of like feudal Japan, and I was really
Then
confused.
we get the dead body. We get
Yep.
the Hulk lives scrawled
Hulk
on the
lives
wall.
on the wall.
Yes,
But
yes.
most
Next one, puzzle
importantly-
box.
Puzzle
Well,
box.
I don't know.
Capping the capping the issue, we get Bobby Morse's guide to yoga.
Which I could do this yoga.
Perfect. Then you can do all of these poses right after the show. We'll include pictures. In
That
the
sounds
show
great.
notes.
Yeah, you've got the Charlie's Angel, the My Ex-Husband is on Trial for Murder, the Upside Down Martini, the Diamond Porpoise, the Tripped by Corgi pose. That one's going to be a little harder for me.
Yes.
The I Need a Pedicure, Scratchy Sheets, Bermuda Triangle, and Natural 20, which I could never do in a billion years.
Also, in the back of this issue, in the letter page, we get a letter from a Scott Morse talking about how much he loved the comic, and Cain just replies, "Thanks, Dad. Love, Bobby." I love it. Issue 7, Horsehead is dead. Bobby and Lance are questioned by the captain of the ship. Lance makes up stories, and Bobby tells the truth.
Like, just straight up tells the truth. And again, this is one of those things where it's like, okay, is this actually how it went down? Or is Bobby once
Yeah.
again like telling the story to make herself look a little bit better?
Well, on that same note, the captain declares Bobby lead ship detective under maritime law and Lance as her deputy.
Is
Clearly,
maritime
Cain
law
was
a
watching
real
Archer,
thing?
right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, yes, but it doesn't mean that you get to just make up whatever rules you like.
Right, exactly.
Can I start claiming maritime law whenever I want to do whatever I want?
Yes, you will need to be standing in a boat while you do
Yep.
it.
Okay,
But
so
must be
at
wearing
sea?
boat shoes, I guess.
I can get boat shoes.
We can also go down the path of making some Arrested Development jokes about maritime law.
Maritime law too. Yes, yes.
So the evidence Horsehead had for Bobby wasn't in the room, and no one had entered between Bobby and Horsehead, so it's a locked room mystery. The guest appearances that we get here in this overview shot of the rooms
It's so good.
adjacent and close by are Paul and Storm, who are a comedy duo,
Yes.
game designer Keith Baker.
What games has he designed?
I think he designs like role-playing games and card games. I am not familiar with the ones I looked up, so I didn't include them.
Okay.
Angela Weber and Aubrey Weber of the nerd folk band The Double
The
Clicks.
double clicks. I love the double clicks.
And an actual appearance of John Roderick from The Long Winters, who is listening through to the room of Horsehead with the glass.
This is confirmation to me that the nerd cruise that they're on right now is actually the Joko cruise. This is the Jonathan Colton cruise that is put together because the Double Clicks and Paul and Storm and John Roderick are constant guests there.
That's awesome.
As well as Will Wheaton, I think that's the Horsehead joke because Will Wheaton made the Horsehead thing so popular on the
Yeah.
internet. So,
Did he?
Yes, he is responsible for this.
Bobby and Lance find bloody footprints. Lance identifies them as size 10 men's loafers from JCPenney, claiming that he used to be a Boy Scout, so of course he knows that.
The cutaway to the Boy Scout guide is the most, like, you've got all this
footprint guide.
Yeah, the footprint guide is amazing. You've got, men's size 10 shoe, you've got high heels, ninja/burglar, all this stuff. There's like Beaver, Bigfoot, and then Iron Man, Spider-Man, Howard the Duck, Beast, Ant-Man, tiny little things. And then you get like these wacky, crazy footprints, and it's like probably Miss Marvel doing some weird thing.
Yep, that's my favorite one. Probably Miss Marvel doing something weird.
Yes.
It's my
so
favorite.
good.
The prints actually match Horsehead's own shoes, but they've been cleaned. The ship enters the Bermuda Triangle and loses all signals and all connections to the world. Bobby insists that the Bermuda Triangle isn't even real. Bobby then collects suspects, bringing us some more guests and their RPG character stats. You get Mark Mohan, who is Chelsea Cain's husband. The artist of the comic shows up, which is great. And you have the comic there. What does it say under her attributes?
It's okay. So Kate Nimechick is level 11. Her speed is 5. Her AC is 34. Her HP is 43. And her special powers are Hulk Smash and Illustration.
Yep, Hulk Smash and Illustration. I love it. It's great. As well as some reappearing guests from the previous page. And
I love that we get Audrey from the Double Clicks dressed as a banana.
yeah.
That's just very good.
And the Alpha Flight Driftwood artisan who sold the North Star to both Bobby and, as we found out, Horsehead, because he had one in his room as well. Who also happens to be the porter on the ship who delivers the telegrams like the ones that Bobby was getting from Horsehead. Bobby gets a revelation about the knot tied in an armband found at the scene and about the Dirty Cowboy, which is a drink that she smelled on the horse.
Can we talk about the Dirty Cowboy super quick?
Please let's talk about the Dirty Cowboy. I'd like nothing more.
Apparently, how to make a Dirty Cowboy is you use 3/4 butterscotch schnapps and 1/4 Irish cream. And I need this drink more than I need the drink that I was hollering at you about the other day called the Orgasm, which I learned from watching the television show iZombie.
Equal parts amaretto, Irish cream, and coffee liqueur.
Yes. I need
incredibly dangerous.
both of these because
Okay.
here's the thing.
After we're done here, we will go down to the local liquor store. If I can
Yes.
find butterscotch schnapps. which
Oh,
is
I
particularly
guarantee. No,
appropriate,
here's the
because
thing.
The listener at home may not know
Yes.
that my nickname for you is in fact butterscotch.
It's a true story. It's a really dumb story that involves group text messaging in all caps for some reason, and then it just stuck. But no, I guarantee that we can find the butterscotch schnapps there. I don't know if we can find the Irish cream. We probably can. I just maybe don't know.
Baileys, yeah.
Oh, it's just Bailey's?
It's just Baileys.
God, I'm dumb.
Yeah.
Moving on.
So we will make you a dirty cowboy later.
Yes.
In, I guess, both senses of the word.
But this knot and this drink give Bobby a hunch, remind her of someone from her past, and she rushes back to the crime scene in the room. Bobby does some Murder, She Wrote explaining and says that if... and says that if Lance checks, the room service tray left outside should be gone. He does and sees someone running off with it, and a chase begins. Bobby realizes that the whole cruise was designed to mess with her. It was all a devious mind game. The chase is brought to a halt as the deck is filled with people having a candlelight vigil for Hulk.
Oof.
Bobby says that the Phantom Rider set this all up, the whole thing. Horsehead's last name, Edsall, was an anagram for Slade, Lincoln Slade, the Phantom Rider, the villain Mockingbird let die that led to the end of her relationship with Hawkeye. He is possessing people on the cruise, specifically 2 who are related to him because that's how his power works.
It's a weirdly specific power.
His and her story are basically the backstory for Netflix's Jessica Jones with the Purple Man. He basically used her to do a bunch of things.
Yeah.
And
Okay, so this is
Maybe
part
not worth getting into.
so this entire storyline with Bobby and with Slade and how Cain ends up changing it, because we're gonna find out here in a few pages that Bobby basically tells him, Clint didn't break up with me because I let you die. Clint broke up with me because I cheated on him. He tried to tell himself that you drugged me, that you did all this other stuff, but I chose to do this. And I guess that really upset a whole lot of fans. Was this another way to make our chick badass by just giving her a rape backstory at some point? Initially,
yes.
Yeah,
yes. But what Chelsea Cain is doing here is returning agency and authority over her own narrative to Bobby, which is brilliant and obviously upset a bunch of people. I mean, a lot of that, I think, was just the kind of upset that you get when you change a significant detail of the history. Because this story had been established and been referenced for years and years and years and years and years. Returning that power to Bobby and saying, no, you didn't control me. I just cheated on Hawkeye. That's fantastic for her from a character perspective, but not great for people who like their comics to have that grounded continuity.
Sure. Okay.
Retcon.
Yeah. So moving straight past who Lincoln Slade is, basically he came from where Ghost Rider came from. Back in the day, there was these people who rode horses and had superpowers that could do things, and he's a relative of that person. And now that he died, he can possess relatives of his.
God, comics are so weird, y'all.
And there's a lot to it. Anyways, he appears behind Bobby in possession of the Porter's body, taunting her. She aggressively takes no shit from him in this panel, saying, "You will take your hands off me or I will make what Barton did to Banner look like flirting."
I love Bobby so much.
Yeah.
She's so damn good.
I should say the letters in this issue are answered by the Corgi Khazar.
What?
It's pretty fantastic. And the last page of this issue features a restraining order for the Phantom Rider from Bobby.
Yes.
And now to issue 8, our final issue, and the issue with the famed cover of the Ask Me About My Feminist Agenda t-shirt.
It is worth noting that the actress who plays Bobby Morse in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the aforementioned Adrienne Palicki, did do an Instagram shot where she was wearing the Ask Me About My Feminist Agenda shirt.
So great.
That is one of my very favorite things.
Yeah.
That was very, very
She seems like a very nice and wonderful and awesome person, and I will be forever sad that Bobby is no longer a part of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. cast. Don't give a shit about Hunter.
good. They might bring her back. It's
They
not impossible.
won't.
Yeah, you're right.
They should.
They should. No, she's great. She's perfect. She's beautiful.
And she should come back wearing that shirt.
Yes.
On the show.
Yeah. Bobby, what are you wearing? And the shirt just speaks to me.
I would gather every person I know and make them watch the premiere of that show so it's the best stats ever.
I don't know. The way the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is commentating right now on things happening in Marvel, it's not impossible that they would, maybe they wouldn't bring her back for that, but I wouldn't be completely surprised to see
some
Daisy
comments made
or Simmons wearing an Ask Me About My Feminist Agenda t-shirt.
God, that would have been amazing.
So the intro page here informs us of what I said earlier, that the Phantom Rider can only possess relatives, and we found out in a couple pages that Horsehead and the Porter are both descendants of a cousin of the Phantom Rider. We get a flashback to marriage counseling with Bobby and Clint. Clint can't take that Bobby let someone die when she could have saved him, and Bobby makes some jokes about it, taking it lightly.
And, not to borrow your bit or anything, but technically speaking, Puzzle box!
Slade killed Horsehead and put his essence in the tray that the Porter then picked up and then possessed the Porter through the tray. It's convoluted and doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, don't look too closely. Yeah, no, it's fine.
Bobby assembles some nerds on deck with some hand gestures, and Slade summons and climbs onto his ghost horse.
Banshee.
Yeah. Most of the celebrity guests we've seen in the comic take turns trying to stop the Phantom Rider as he shoots his gun wildly. Paul Sabourin of Paul and Storm calms the horse and tells the horse to be free, and the horse bucks off Slade and runs away.
No, I feel like you have to do the line exactly as it is in the comic, which is, "Be free, my friend." And then the horse just leaves.
The horse is just like, oh, okay.
How did you do that?
I'm good with animals.
Paul and Storm are pretty great. If you don't know Paul and Storm, definitely go and check them out online.
Bobby Six Khazar the Corgi and Sensei Ping, Keith Baker's pug, on Slade. The dogs knock his guns loose before he shakes them off. The bartender brings Bobby a drink and asks if she has a plan. We then get a full-page flowchart of her plan that boils down to try to catch Slade in a shampoo bottle.
It's pretty... Oh, okay, we're going to run through this with you, Sarah, okay?
Okay.
Is Slade currently possessing someone?
Yes.
Is the restraining order current?
Yes.
Are you under attack?
No.
Does E equal MC squared?
Yes.
Run!
Okay.
There you go. Good advice for life. Brought to you.
One of the many paths of the flowchart. Slade calls the Hulk fan nerds to avenge Hulk in handing over his murderer's ex-wife, and they just look at him like a dummy because that doesn't really make any sense.
Yes. And they straight up call that out, which is great.
He then calls up ghost pirates from the sea, but when he asks them to kill everyone and bring Bobby to him, he finds out that they are progressive feminist pirates and don't do killing, and they leave with a kind bow toward the guests, wishing them a good cruise.
Do we know for sure whether the cancellation order for this series was in place when this script was written? Because it sure feels like nothing is being left on the table.
Yeah, surely at this point.
This is issue 8, so I think that she must have known that the show was done, that the series was done at this point. So I mean, like, Cain really is just being like, I do whatever the fuck I want at this point. Yeah,
yep.
Yeah.
And this is where Slade gives up, pouts off to the front of the ship, and Bobby follows, saying Clint didn't leave her because she let Slade die. He left because she cheated. He let himself believe that she was drugged and taken advantage of, but says that she always made her own decisions.
Yeah.
Knowing that he couldn't be with her physically, he lets go of the porter's body and says Clint was acquitted yesterday. The court case is over. Hearing this, being relieved at the news, Bobby lets her guard down and Slade attacks her, hitting Bobby over the railing of the ship and falling in himself, yelling, "If I can't be with you, no one can." And he dissolves into the water, and apparently that either kills him or just gets rid of him or something.
It doesn't. No, he's defo coming back at some point later.
Sure.
Yeah. However,
we do get Greg Storm from Paul and Storm saying, obviously the triangle's magnetic anomalies have created an ionic supercharge resulting in molecular disintegration of the writer's ghostly essence. And then Paul saying he's gone for good this time for sure.
And then Bobby is saved from drowning by a gaggle of corgis.
Yep, mermaid corgis.
Mermaid corgis.
Again, we're very deep in Bobby's POV.
Yeah, remember, this is the POV. Yeah.
Bobby is unconscious at this point, presumably. So
that's either just what she imagined, or better yet, it's the story that she told later.
Yes.
Yeah. So the next
While
morning,
Nat rolled her eyes over coffee the morning after the night before.
Exactly how it goes.
Yep.
The next morning, Bobby relaxes on the same beach that she's pulled up on. Turns out it's at a resort. She is wearing the Feminist Agenda shirt, and Lance comes down from a helicopter to pick her up.
It doesn't count as a rescue.
I had a massage appointment. To which Lance says, please, you hate family resorts. This counts as a rescue. 2 weeks later, in the Swiss Alps, Bobby is on the vacation she actually wants and needs, with both Lance and Clint, who are arguing over which one of them is actually Tyler Durden. Bobby then says, shh, stop with the talking. That's not why we're here. We're here because I need a foot rub. A little harder, Clint.
I'm Hunter. He's Clint.
I said no talking. And then corgis flying in the air holding at the end banner, which is amazing.
Also wearing little seashell bras.
Yep, we'll see on the corgi.
Well, you have to. Otherwise, how would you know they were corgis?
Is the fishtail not enough?
It'd just be fish corgis.
As far as I'm aware, mermaids have two characteristics: fishtails and seashell bras.
Only seashell bras if they're in a Disney film. Otherwise, they've just got boobies.
Marvel's owned by Disney now, so this counts.
Oh, yes. All right.
The letters page here is replaced by Chelsea Cain, endearingly thanking everyone who had a hand in this comic, and really wins my heart, just like passionately going through each person and talking about what they did and why it wouldn't have worked without them. Mm-hmm. And then the last page, we get treated some Mockingbird concept art, so it's really great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that is the Chelsea Cain run of Mockingbird. And you guys, it sounds totally bonkers, but it somehow works beautifully.
It does.
Just an incredible piece of work.
Yeah. So what was your favorite part in the series?
Issue 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seeing this depiction of the manifestation of power in a young girl in the 616 universe, because we're still fairly grounded. The puzzle box elements haven't really kicked in yet. We're not quite doing the superhero spy action. We're doing something fairly grounded and fairly real for the 616. That works so powerfully for me, so beautifully for me. That could have been a one shot and still probably would have been my favorite comic of the year.
Vinton?
Issue 5, because of Howard the Duck Spider-Man and Mockingbird team up, specifically Miles Morales Spider-Man team up. We need a reunited team up of that in a future comic for sure.
Yes, that would be amazing. Yeah, I really do think that just like issues 1 through 5, like, I mean, because it's the story finishes. I mean, that story is then done, and then we continue on with like this, Nerd Cruise thing in issues 6 through 8. But I really do think that like 1 through 5, like just that entire thing and this whole idea of this puzzle box element, and just Bobby being smart and capable and sharp and witty and an unreliable narrator. It's brilliant, and I love it.
So good.
Yeah.
And displays such an awareness of the entire history of Marvel Comics.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Go pick up these books, you guys. They're so good. You
Multiple
can get,
copies. Give them to your
trade
friends.
1 and 2. They're on Amazon. We'll put links in the show notes. It'll be totally great. And I think that's it.
Yeah, follow
Right?
Chelsea Cain wherever she goes. Read everything that she
Yes,
does. She's
yes,
fantastic.
yes. She's
and
so
Kate
good.
Newcheck too,
Yes.
because the art throughout is just
the art,
stunning.
so
I
great.
love the art. Yes, absolutely.
So you guys, we have a play date this week in order to
Yeah.
prepare for the next episode of Excelsior, because
Yeah.
next time we're going to discuss Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Woohoo!
We're going to be, current and up to date. And
I
talking
mean, a
about movie
little.
that is in
We're going to be
theaters.
about a week behind just because of the way that our schedule runs.
Yeah. We're
yeah.
recording it 6 days, so I guess it'll be a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
before it
Yes.
drops.
Yep. Yeah. Yes. But yeah, we're gonna go see Guardians of the Galaxy 2. It's gonna be great. So we are putting a Civil War on hold for now. We'll probably do that right after Guardians. I guess we don't have to go back to
Either
a
the
comic
week
book.
after
Or in a couple weeks, we'll let you know. We'll figure it out.
It'll be
Yeah,
just fine.
yeah. But yeah, so that's gonna be good. Go see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and then listen to our podcast about it. If you want to get in touch with us and talk to us about Mockingbird or any of the other shows that we've done, any of the movies or comics, or if you have recommendations for us, if there's something out there that you want us to cover here on this show, then you can get in touch with us. You can get in touch with all of us over on Twitter at ExcelsiorCast. You can get in touch with me at Elsa Grab the Salt.
You can find me at Paper Bullets.
And I'm at Fleshier. And you
I
can
really appreciate that none of us use our names as our Twitter handle.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, there are superpower, secret names, identities.
right.
Shit.
Yeah.
Chardonnay.
So if you want to draw fan fiction of us, either as Elsa Grab the Salt, as Paper Bullets, or as Flesh Eater, which I guess is just like barbecue, I guess, then definitely draw that and post it to your Tumblr and then send us a link.
And then send us a link.
Guys,
Yeah.
Like 15 years ago when I started going by Jeff Fleshy, which was my punk rock name because my middle name is Jeff, zombies weren't that big of a deal at the time.
Then I always assumed that it was a reference to the Eucharist, and
It was that too.
Okay,
It was
all
dual
right,
meaning. There was dual
excellent.
meaning there, for
That's what I
sure.
thought. Where can people find more stuff from you guys?
You can find more from me at the Graphomania Podcast Network. That's at graphocast.com, GRAPHOCAST, and especially the Read Brave Comics podcast.
Yes, I highly
Definitely
recommend. If you
check
like
that
this,
out.
you'll love that. How about you, Alistair?
You can find me at pointnorthmedia.com, where I talk about Tolkien and American gods and all kinds of things.
Yes,
American
yes.
Gods.
Yep, very, very
It's
good.
happening right now.
It is happening right now. Yeah, I hear very good things.
No, I'm just doing another show right over here.
Right over
in this
here.
other-
Oh, I see. Okay,
Sorry, if
yes.
I've been a little distracted through the recording of Excelsior, it's because I'm currently doing a live seminar on Chapter 8 of American Gods.
The most confusing and perfect seminar that has ever existed. I think that's basically it,
That'll do
right?
it.
Yeah, if you like the show, head on over to patreon.com/Common Room Radio, where you can kick us $1 a month or whatever you can afford. If you become a patron, you will eventually be able to have, like special secret shows that we do, like stuff for like Archer or gag reels. We're going to have gag reels for this show because they are pretty good. So we're going to get those put together and posted at some point. But yeah, thank you guys so much for your support and for your love and for the growth that the show has already experienced. So we wouldn't be able to do this without you. So we'll see you guys next time from Common Room Radio. I'm Sarah K. Bazant.
I'm Alistair Stevens.
And I'm Vinton Bain.
Have you ever considered using your medical degree for good?
I have a lot of student loans.
Excelsior!
Excelsior!
Puzzle box!
Puzzle box!